people today. They could spend half their lives over 50. That's a lot of living. So it helps to have a wise friend and fierce defender in your corner. A friend like AARP. So your health lives longer.
This is just slow-mo karate?
Just slow-mo karate.
Your money lives longer.
I just bought that.
I just sold that.
And your happiness lives longer. That's why the younger you are, the more you need AARP. Join today.
Welcome to AARP Illinois' virtual event. It's so wonderful to have you with us. AARP is on a mission to connect with individuals across various communities, especially those aged 50 and above. We're here to listen, understand, and address the unique needs of you and your community as we age. Our goal is to enrich your experience by expanding our local activities, providing opportunities for you to discover and engage with all that life has to offer right here in your own community and virtually. As we journey through today's event, we invite you to consider joining our dedicated team of AARP volunteers. It's a chance to make a meaningful impact and help us better serve those 50 plus across the nation. Connect with us and be a part of this vibrant movement toward positive change. Welcome, and let's make this event both fun and transformative.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Jeff Scott, Senior Associate State Director for AARP Illinois. I'll be your host for today's special virtual offering. But before we begin, I want to make a note that AARP is a nonprofit, nonpartisan organization. We do not endorse candidates or make contributions to political campaigns or candidates. Our members come from across the political spectrum, and AARP has a long history of working with elected officials from both parties to address the issues that matter most to Americans 50 and over. Today, we're pleased to be joined by Brent Davis, Director of Elections Operations for the Illinois State Board of Elections. Brent is here to share important nonpartisan information about the upcoming elections in Illinois, including voter registration, voting options, key deadlines, and what voters can expect in this election cycle. So without further ado, Brent, thank you for joining us today.
Absolutely. Thank you for the opportunity to participate today. We really appreciate it, and for being a trusted partner and sharing important information about voter access in elections.
Absolutely. And we're going to start off right off the bat here. Let's dive into some key dates for the upcoming elections in Illinois. Please walk us through the important dates that voters need to keep in mind this year.
Absolutely. In 2026, Illinois will conduct a general primary election and a general election. So we're coming right up on this. The general primary will be held on March 17th, 2026. Early voting for the primary will begin on February 5th. And voters can request a vote by mail ballot as of now, actually. So you can apply, and those will begin being mailed out on February 5th as well. Moving to the general election, that is held on November 3rd of this year. Early voting for the general election will begin on September 24th. And that will also be the first day that vote by mail ballots are sent out. For this election cycle, I'd also like to point out some of the offices that are up for nomination and election this year. This election doesn't always get as much attention as the presidential election, but there's still a lot of important offices on the ballot in 2026. Some of those include U.S. Senate, Congress. All 17 districts are up every 2 years, so we have all 17 districts, congressional districts, up for election again. Governor and Lieutenant Governor, Attorney General, Secretary of State, Comptroller, Treasurer, all those constitutional officers are on the ballot this time. State senators, about 2/3 of them, so you would need to check if your district is up for election this year, but 2/3 of them are on the ballot this time. State representatives, all 118 members of the General Assembly, are up every 2 years. Judicial vacancies, and then also some of your local offices. So your county clerk, treasurer, sheriff, assessor, and county board members are up in this election. And then at the primary, You'll be electing precinct committee persons, township committee persons, and on the Democratic Party, state central committee persons. So those will all be elected at the primary in March.
Very good. Thank you. For listeners who may not be registered to vote right now, can you walk us through the voter registration options in Illinois, including online, in person, and same-day registration?
Sure can. First, I'll touch on the basic requirements to register to vote in Illinois. In order to register, the individual must be a U.S. citizen. They must be 18 years of age by the general election, so they need to be 18 by November 3rd of 2026. If that's the case, then they can still register now at 17 years old and vote in the primary. They must live in their election precinct for at least 30 days, and they must have 2 forms of ID, one of which must have their current address on it. This is a question that we commonly get as far as what forms of ID are acceptable. The most common are going to be driver's license or state ID, but it's not limited to that. Registrants can also use a current utility bill, bank statement, government check, paycheck, or other government document which shows the name and address of the voter. So they would need 2 forms, 2 of those items that I went through. For those eligible to register, there are a number of convenient options to get registered. First, in person, you can visit your election authority's office. So your election authority is your county clerk or board of election commissioners, depending upon where you live. In addition to visiting your election authority's office, you may also be able to register in person through a deputy registrar, such as your precinct committee person, your municipal or township clerk, at a local library. There's a few others, but I generally recommend contacting them first to make sure that they have a deputy registrar available before you go into their office. Second option is by mail. Registrants can print and complete an application from our website. Our website is www.elections.il.gov. Print out that application, mail it to your county clerk or board of election commissioners. And the deadline to mail registration before the primary is February 17th of 2026. So that's coming up in the not so distant future. The deadline to mail for the general election is not until October 6th of this year. So that's second option, to print and mail an application. Third option is to register online. For residents of Illinois who have an Illinois driver's license or state ID, they can register online through the State Board of Elections website. The direct link to register there is OVA, O as in octopus, V as in Victor, A as in application, .elections.il.gov. The deadline to register online for the primary election is March 1st. And for the general election, that's going to be October 18th, 2026. So it's a relatively easy process to do that. It's the quickest and most efficient way if you do have an Illinois driver's license or state ID. And fourth option, it kind of ties back to in-person, but it's same-day registration. Voters in Illinois can register to vote on election day. They're still required to bring 2 forms of ID, one of which shows their current residence address. So the same requirements apply just like they're registering any other day of the year. Depending upon the jurisdiction, that same-day registration may be available in the precinct, or you may be required to visit the office of your election authority, or they may have other designated locations set up. If you're going to utilize this option for registering on election day, you're going to be registering and voting at the same time. So it's kind of a 2-step, one-stop process. The availability of election day registration locations is available on the State Board of Elections website. So I recommend looking that up and confirming where that registration is available for you if you opt to use the same day registration option.
And you gave that website earlier, and I'll ask you to do that towards the end again. So people can get into you all's website, because it's a very good website. I've been on it many times. But so obviously Illinois has a lot of registration options, which is great for people. Another place where people look for flexibility is in actual casting of their vote. So run through the options available in Illinois, such as vote by mail, early voting, and how do they do that?
Sure. Just like registering to vote, there are many options available for voting that make it accessible and convenient for all voters. First, I'll go through voting by mail. In Illinois, no excuse is needed to vote by mail, and any voter who is properly registered has the option to request a ballot to be sent to them in the mail. The application period begins 90 days prior to the election, and ballots are sent out starting on the 40th day preceding the election, which, as I mentioned earlier, is February 5th for the upcoming primary and September 24th for the general election. Applications for a vote by mail ballot can be obtained through the State Board of Elections website or on the websites of most election jurisdictions. For those who prefer this option in every election, voters can also sign up for permanent vote by mail. If they do this, ballots will automatically be mailed to the voter in future elections with no need to send in new applications every time. The second option is early voting. Voters can cast their ballot in person at the office of the election authority. So again, your county clerk or board of election commissioners. And many jurisdictions also have additional locations available for early voting. This begins 40 days prior to the election, which again is February 5th, and September 24th for the general election. Locations and hours of operation for early voting sites across the state are available on the State Board of Elections website. So again, I would encourage you to look up the options that are available in your jurisdiction to make sure that if there are more convenient, closer locations to where you are, that you can find those and find the most convenient option. The third option is the good old-fashioned in-person on election day. The polls, as they have been for as long as I can remember, are open from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. If you are unsure of your polling place location, again, you can find it by using the Find My Polling Place tool on the State Board of Elections website or by contacting your election authority.
Thank you. And I think Illinois has done a good job of giving options to voters, obviously not only in registration like we talked about, but when they actually do cast their vote. So that's great. So let's say that you've moved since the last time you voted, or you changed your name, or you haven't just voted in a while. What should somebody do to make sure and verify that their voter information is up to date?
It's very easy to check your current status. And again, I don't mean to keep referring to everyone to the State Board of Elections website, but that is really the quickest and easiest way to check the current status. So on our website, there is a registration lookup tool. So if you've recently moved, it's possible that we've already tracked you down through national change of address, or if you've updated your information with other state agencies, it may have filtered its way to us and it may have gotten updated. But I would still highly recommend confirming that it did get updated, that you do still have an active registration at your current address by using that lookup tool on the website. Again, this is going to help prevent any delays on election day, and just so that you know that everything is ready to go with no hiccups. If you do need to update your registration because of a recent move, the easiest way is to send an updated registration to your election authority now, or update it when you go to the Secretary of State to update your driver's license or state ID. If you've missed the deadlines for those options, you still have the same options available to anyone else for registering. So you can go to an early voting site for grace period registration, or again, register in the polling place. Just another reminder that if you do utilize any of those options, you still will need 2 forms of ID, one of which must have that new address on it.
Right. Okay. Now, with the primary coming up here in a couple months, believe it or not, another common question revolves around party affiliation when it comes to primary elections. Explain how the primary elections work in Illinois regarding the party affiliation.
Yeah, that's a very good question. It's one that we get a lot. The primary election is the process through which established political parties in Illinois nominate their candidates. And the primary is also when the established parties elect their party representation, such as precinct, township, ward committee persons, and also state central committee in the case of the Democratic Party. It can be helpful to think of the primary as more of a function of the political parties versus thinking of it as an actual election. To participate in the primary, a voter must declare the party for which they wish to participate in. Voters can only choose one party and are thus not able to participate in the nomination process for more than one political party. I know that voters sometimes get frustrated that they have to declare a party, but I try to remind them that the general logic behind this process is that requiring someone to declare a party and limiting them from participation in more than one party's primary prevents people from outside the political party from trying to undermine the outcome of the election. So sort of hijacking that party's primary. Because if people of the other party or any party affiliations were allowed to vote in your party's primary, they're not going to be voting for the strongest candidate. Instead, they're going to vote for the weakest candidate, which would give their own party a better chance at winning in November. So this process is designed to maintain the integrity of the nomination process by people that are affiliated with that political party. I would also like to note that if you have a public question that is on the ballot for the primary election, so if one of your local units of government has any public questions on the ballot, you do have the option to vote a nonpartisan ballot. And so when you do this, you don't have to declare a party in order to vote. You simply go in, request a nonpartisan ballot, and in that case, all your ballot's going to have on it is the public question or questions. It won't have any other offices of the political parties that are up for nomination. So that's a good thing to remember. And I would encourage you to, even if you don't want to participate in the political party functions of it, keep in mind that you can still go and vote on those questions without declaring a party.
Right. And party affiliation comes out, and like you said, that's a question you guys get a lot. But I know something, and it's in the news quite a bit, is when you actually go to vote and if you have to have a ID or how that works. Walk us through on election day. What are the requirements for voting at the polls, and particularly, I guess, going back to the identification, how do you, particularly regarding voter identification, how do you do that?
So the short answer is that a voter whose registration is current will generally not need ID. But as with anything, I would say the safest course of action is to bring it just in case there's any issues. So if your registration is current and there are no issues, it probably won't be needed, but I would still recommend having it just in case. The general process for election judges to verify a voter's ID is to compare the signature on the voter's application to vote against the signature of record on their voter registration. If the two election judges are satisfied that the signatures match, the voter will be able to proceed with voting. So the judges who are verifying those signature, they have stationed there a Democrat judge and a Republican judge, and they're both examining that signature and looking at it to determine whether or not you are who you say you are when you come in to vote. So again, if they're satisfied that you are the same person, that's going to be your general form of IDing yourself. If the voter has recently changed their name or moved within the same precinct, Then they're going to need 2 forms of ID to update their registration in the polling place. Ultimately, a voter whose registration gets challenged, but let's say you don't have the ID with you, there's still a backup plan. So voters will still be able to vote a provisional ballot in those cases. In the event that that happens, you basically cast your ballot, you mark it like normal, and it goes into a separate envelope. The election judges will keep it separated out, and you then have 7 days to follow up with your election authority to provide the proper documentation to make sure that it gets counted. So that's kind of the fail-safe in this case.
Right. And I mean, the idea is everybody, can fairly vote and it's secure. And I mean, that's the whole point of what you all do. And it's much appreciated what you all do. I think it's a lot of times it's, you aren't patted on the back probably as much as you should be for the hard work that you do. But I am going to get into one final question. And it's basically just I want you to, again, restate that website again, and I will vouch for it. It's a great website. It has all the pertinent information that you need. But if a voter wants to find accurate official information, get help with any questions they encounter that we may have, that you have not answered today, and they're trying to vote, give me that website, and then to give us any closing remarks that you might want to add.
Yeah, absolutely. So the website again is www.elections, and that's elections with an S, .il.gov. So www.elections.il.gov. I want to point out how important it is for voters to get facts about voting from trusted sources and not fall victim to misinformation, which could be targeted to deter them from being able to vote. So again, voters can find the details for their registration status, voting locations, dates and times so those locations are open for voting on the State Board of Elections website. If you're not so great at navigating technology, voters are also welcome to call our office so that a specialist can answer their questions and look up any information that the voter is looking for. I'll give you our phone number as well. That is 217-782-4141. And that is the main phone line for our agency. Again, 217-782-4141. And when calling, I would recommend choosing, there's an automated menu, and one of those options is election operations, or you can press 0 for the operator. But once they connect you with someone, we're happy to look up any information for you. If you've had any trouble with finding it on the website, more than happy to help. Also encourage everyone to follow our social media on Facebook or X, formerly known as Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, under the user account at Illinois SBE. So those feeds are updated daily. So everyone following our accounts will always be up to date on what is happening in the election cycle. Lots of reminders, lots of factual information sharing so that you are well educated on the options available to you. And finally, I just want to thank you for the opportunity to participate in sharing this information today and for your efforts in sharing accurate information about elections.
No, thank you, Brent, and the Board of Elections. We appreciate all your work, like I said before. And again, I don't think you guys are patted on the back enough, but it is an enormous job that you have, and it's the basis of of Illinois, who's going to be elected. So appreciate it. And thanks for breaking all this down for us. And for you who are watching today, thank you for joining us. AARP encourages all eligible voters to make a plan to vote and take advantage of the resources available to ensure that your voice is heard. Thanks again. Have a great day. And thank you for being a part of AARP.